with your own fair lady sparkling in the sun. But in these days, a country road is like a trackless waste with no friendly service stations at convenient locations to help you in time of need. And when your engine starts to splutter and your wife starts to mutter, well, Billy boy, you're in trouble. But Bill is the confident type. He's got everything under control. There's a reserve can of gasoline strapped to the running board. So don't worry about a thing, he tells his wife as he lifts the front seat to get at the fuel tank. Picks up the reserve can of gasoline. And nothing. He'd forgotten to fill it the last time this happened. A half an hour later, Bill's happy honeymoon is beginning like this. And if this is romance, Bill thinks it's for the birds. But let's tune in many years later. There's Bill and Carol on the same road, off on a ride with their family. And look at the difference. There's a service station where and when you need it. And if you accidentally run out of gas out in the country, a telephone call will bring help in minutes. Yes, things have changed since 1919 for the better, as far as Bill and Carol are concerned. The automobile industry, which began with the development of the internal combustion engine in 1879 by George Selden, now builds millions of cars each year for America's mobile population, and the oil and automobile efficient engines and fuels for the American motorist. Millions of dollars in research have been spent to develop today's high-octane gasoline. For example, it has been estimated that it costs the oil industry almost $200 million each time the octane rating of gasoline is raised just 1 point. But high-octane gasoline and the thousands of service stations throughout the country have given the American family a new freedom, the freedom to go wherever they desire, swiftly and comfortably, and without the worry that plagued motorists 40 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Fill her up.
That's right, Dad. We don't want to run out of gas like a certain fellow I know.
I wish I'd never told them that story. They'll never forget it.
I won't either.
The Seneca Indians, who made their home in Pennsylvania in the early 1800s, used to splash through a mysterious oily substance that bubbled from underground. The Indians thought this was Heap Good Medicine. And many a squaw used it to ease the pain when her warrior hurt him bad. News of this strange medicine quickly spread. A businessman named Samuel Kier heard about it and started bottling it as a medication for sale around the country. Kier called it rock oil and advertised it as a cure for almost every and any ailment. Then the man who was to revolutionize a century, for instance, Edwin L. Drake, a retired railroad conductor, was assigned in 1858 as general agent of the Seneca Oil Company and told to investigate the land holdings of the company near Titusville, Pennsylvania, to see if he could obtain oil in large quantities to be sold as an illuminant for lamps. Through ridicule and lack of capital, Drake persevered. But he soon realized that oil could not be found by digging, and there was no market for mud. So he tried drilling. His driller was a blacksmith called Uncle Billy Smith. But for a long time, all the drill bit found was more mud. Old-fashioned methods of drilling wouldn't work until Drake thought of drilling through pipe, a method which is still used today. Drilling 3 feet a day, they reached 69 feet on August 27th, and then quit for the weekend, still without oil.
Hold on a second, son.
Oh, Pop, come on.
Take a look down there, son. You see anything?
No. Gosh, time we get to the official oil.
Now, wait. Run quick to town. Find Colonel Drake and tell him we struck oil. Go on, run!
Pop, here he is!
We done it, Colonel. We struck it. Let them laugh at you now.
This year, the oil companies celebrate the 100th anniversary of that great moment in man's history. The drilling of the first well for oil, which ushered in a new era of abundant, low-cost energy that changed our way of life, improved our standard of living, and set the stage for the greatest period of industrial and economic growth in the history of mankind. The story of Drake and his backers is a story of free enterprise in the American way. Braving hardships and the risk of financial disaster, the oil pioneers gambled and won. Today, that spirit of enterprise is still America's greatest asset. But nowadays, finding oil is a far more costly business than in Colonel Drake's day. Colonel Drake had to pay Uncle Billy approximately $1 a foot for a well less than 70 feet deep. Today, most of the oil near the surface has been discovered, and oil men must sometimes drill as deep as 25,000 feet at costs as high as $110 per foot. And drilling in the ocean offshore adds fantastic amounts to the investment. But men with the spirit of Edwin L. Drake are still drilling, risking their personal resources to find and bring the precious oil to the surface, to continue to build America's economy. The Lindy Hop, the Charleston, and the Black Bottom were some of the most popular dances ever known. In the Roaring 20s, they were all the rage. And so was a man called Lindy, who made a historic hop of his own. Before Charles Lindbergh, brave men had been experimenting with flight a long time. Most of them didn't even get off the ground. And the ones who did often regretted it. The flight of the Wright Brothers culminated man's search for a flying machine that worked. But the man who was to dramatize the potentials of flight did not move into the spotlight until 1927. In that year, Lindbergh climbed into a frail little plane and took off from Roosevelt Field, Long Island, New York. When he landed in Paris, Lindy was exhausted and world famous. The first man to fly across the Atlantic alone. Today, we've come a long way from the days of Lindy's solo flight. His plane, the Spirit of St. Louis, looks tiny and primitive compared to the huge modern jets which crisscross the Atlantic daily. And the gasoline which carried Lindbergh across the ocean would not run your own automobile satisfactorily. In fact, today's gasoline is the same quality of fuel which powered airplanes in World War II. Yet, since the middle 20s, the cost of living has risen almost 65%. While the cost of a gallon of gasoline has risen only about 7%, not including taxes. Based on the national average, not including taxes, you'd only be paying approximately 21.5 cents a gallon today. So remember, the next time you take your car out for a little trip to the neighborhood grocery, you've got more power in your gas tank than Lindbergh had to carry him across the Atlantic. Yet gasoline prices have changed very little since the days of the Lindy Hop.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
In the smoke which hung over Pearl Harbor during the Japanese attack, one important fact was obscured. The Japanese caused heavy damage, but they missed the most important target of all, the oil supplies. The loss of this oil would have prevented our forces from counterattacking, and victory would have been delayed for many months. But the oil supplies were saved, and we were able to mount the counterattack, which eventually led to victory in the Pacific. Military men know how important oil is in warfare. A look at the Normandy invasion will show how oil played a vital role, aiding our fighting men in every phase of the attack. The bombers could not have flown without high-octane gasoline. Without oil, the huge ships could not have moved across the channel to disembark the troops. Ashore, the armored divisions each used 60,000 gallons of gasoline a day. Oil was everywhere, fueling ships at sea, providing vehicles with the gas they needed to keep going in battle, and even, in the form of medicines, helping the wounded. At the beginning of the war, Admiral Chester Nimitz said that winning was a matter of beans, bullets, and oil. By the war's end, he had changed that statement. Now, he said, it's oil, bullets, and beans. And General George Marshall added his tribute. No plane has failed to fly. No ship has failed to sail for lack of oil. Faced with the tremendous needs for fuel, the oil companies responded and made certain that oil was on the spot wherever needed. Today, the military story shows an even more urgent need for oil. Modern jet bombers consume much more fuel than the old-fashioned propeller planes. And oil-derived products power the missiles, which are becoming our first line of defense. The defense of this nation depends to a great degree upon the oil that can be found to fuel its machines and weapons. New fields must constantly be found and developed so that in the event of a national emergency, America would know, not just hope, that she had enough oil available. Faced with this responsibility, oil companies must continue to invest in the risky business of searching for oil. Today, only 1 out of 9 wildcat wells drilled has oil. And only 1 out of about 50 brings in enough oil or gas to make the strike commercially profitable. But oil must be found if Americans are to be prepared in the event of another day of infamy.